over last week, the attempted assassin of Brett Kavanaugh, Supreme Court Justice, was sentenced to a very, very lenient sentence of only 8 years out of the 30 that was being requested. And that the reason was due to his transitioning into a woman. So what do you say about that?
I say this is the thing that fired me up the most on Friday. I went into my weekend ready for a nice, relaxing, unplugged weekend of high school and college football. And I came back on Friday night, right after our show, bookmarking story after story on this insanity of Nicholas Roski, who's transitioning into Sophie while he is in prison and awaiting trial for the attempted assassination of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. And for this, he got less than the man who attacked Paul Pelosi. He got less than those who were rioting on January 6th. He got less than someone who was convicted in Judge Deborah Boardman's courtroom about a month ago for wire fraud. This judge, Judge Deborah Boardman, appointed by Joe Biden, saw a series of facts wherein she laid out, oh, well, he never pulled out the weapon. Oh, well, he called 911 on himself. And saw that somehow that mitigated hidden circumstances on an attempted assassination of Justice Brett Kavanaugh in an environment in the country where we know we are dealing with political violence and the reality of assassination, and said 8 years. Reopen the Sizzlers said on X, the man who attacked Paul Pelosi was sentenced to life in prison. It's just not very hard to find comps. It's just not very hard to find other cases. It's not even hard in staying in the same exact courtroom to find sentencing that matches the punishment. And in this case, why? Why 8 years for an attempted assassination? Because he's transitioning into a female? Because he didn't actually successfully follow through with the assassination? Because he called off his own assassination at some point before he reached the front door of Brett Kavanaugh? Because it's Brett Kavanaugh? This is absolutely horrific. And I just saw Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas say it's time to look at the impeachment of judges. We have a problem with judges in this country. We have a real problem with judges in America. We're going to be focusing on that this week on Will Cain Country and the Will Cain Show. What these judges are doing, and what quality do you want from a judge but wisdom, is far from wise. It's the opposite of wisdom. This is harm to our society. We keep putting focus on the idea that the victim in these cases is actually the perpetrator. The perpetrator is the offender. And there are real victims, some of whom I think are going to be highlighted now by Tinfoil Pat. Take it away. Back to Quick Takes.
That's right. Well, this one is the most egregious to me, even more egregious than the last one. It had my blood boiling. 10 years ago, a 6-year-old boy was brutally murdered, stabbed by a man who was just released from prison after a short he had a 20-year sentence, cut in half for good behavior from the parole board. So he's out on the street, and people are not happy about this one. I think we have some.
This is an absolutely horrific story.
Yes.
This is an absolutely horrific story out of Kentucky. A man from Indianapolis, Indiana, drove to Versailles, Kentucky, broke into a home and attacked a family. He found a kitchen knife inside the home and attacked the daughter, attacked the father. The father got the knife in the back. And while he was attempting to ward off this intruder, the intruder took the knife and repeatedly stabbed and killed his 6-year-old son, Logan. This man served approximately half of his sentence in jail for 7, 8 years, now back on the streets. Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire said, this demon broke into a house and stabbed a child to death 10 years ago, and as of today, he is walking free. This cannot be allowed to continue. Arrest the judge who let him free. Arrest the judge who allowed him to be found not guilty by of murder by reason of insanity. People will say that Trump doesn't have authority. It doesn't matter. Do it anyway. It's worth having a constitutional crisis over this. We simply cannot have these judges releasing murderous animals onto the public. People are dying. It has to stop. Do what needs to be done to stop it. Well, I'll tell you what needs to be done to stop it. And this father, in this case, said it. He was honest with the courtroom, and he was honest during the parole and the sentencing. He said, if I run into this man on the streets, I will kill him. And I would do the same. You stab my son to death, God help you if you ever run into me in this life. God can be in charge of forgiveness, but I will not forget. This man doesn't belong among a civilized people. He does not belong on the streets. And I don't know the measures that need to be taken, but this is beyond the pale. And just another example of what I'm talking about, what you're talking about. In a climate where we're dealing not only with assassination culture, but with crime. We wake up today, by the way, and there is a story outside of the Supreme Court of a man who has been arrested with Molotov cocktails. As the Supreme Court returns today in session, he was arrested looking to apparently firebomb a cathedral of St. Matthew's the Apostle Sunday morning before Red Mass started, a mass that is attended by the Supreme Court justices of the United States. Ben Braddock on X said, according to NBC's reporting, they said a man who had vials of liquid and possible fireworks. A hell of a way to describe a Molotov cocktail, says Dr. Ben Braddock. Vials of liquid is an interesting way to describe a Molotov cocktail. In this environment of assassination culture and crime, I return to this problem that's going to be addressed. We are going to address it this week, the problem with judges in America.